like to welcome everyone to our July 9th County Commission meeting. We'll start off with an invocation by Commissioner Burt Chalifant and lead us into pledge by Commissioner Brandon Ryan. Please stand.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we give Thee thanks for the opportunity of serving the citizens of Williamson County. Guide us in our decisions as we take seriously the challenges of being good stewards of the county resources. Give us the wisdom to properly administer the affairs of education, health, recreation, emergency services, law enforcement, county property, and financial investments. Let us be mindful of the needs of all the people. We ask that you bless the family of former Commissioner Bill Mott in this time of sadness and hold the family in the palm of your hand. We pray for our continued abundance, blessings on Williamson County. We ask in the name of the glorious name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just FYI. Next item on the agenda is roll call. Okay. If you'll push present and then confirm. There we go. Take the roll, Ms. Anderson.
Mayor Hawkins.
Commissioner Hawkins notified us he's, as an attorney, he's tied up in court this morning and will be here just as soon as he can. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of our June 11th, 2012 County Commission meeting. Copies were mailed to each commissioner. I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Hayes, the motion. Commissioner Wilson, the second. It's a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they're approved as read. Introduction and acceptance of the Highway Commission minutes. Those copies were mailed to each commissioner. I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Cook and Commissioner Little, the second. All in favor of those minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And they are approved as read. We have no citizens communication, so moving on down to communications and messages. We don't have any lake file. Okay. There are no late file resolutions, but county commissioners will recess about 11:30 and go to the Williamson County Ag Park for lunch, and we need to meet at the front door for our annual photograph. So everybody be there with smiles on. And next we have reports from county offices. County Mayor Rogers Anderson.
Does a little touching on it. We've got quite a few, as you know, the budget items themselves. A lot of brochures were handed out to you. We'll try to explain those as we go through them. David?
Mr. Chairman, we have some of our standard reports that we bring to each month, and then, of course, at the end of the year, we have some kind of summary reports that were placed at your desk. The first item is the budget report, monthly budget report for the month of May, and also the important one for the month of June the 30th, closing out the year end. We do have some estimated figures on there from the schools. They're not quite closed yet, but if you look at the revenue report for June, you'll see those funds above budgeted amounts, above 100% of revenue, and that's certainly something we look for and are very happy to report. And then on the expenditure, the appropriation side, everyone below the anticipated budget, and that's certainly what we hope will happen at the end of the year. For our privilege tax, we continue to have that upswing that we've been looking for. The month of June was a good report. And then if you look at the chart that we've been supplying to you again, I think this is the second or third month in a row that we reported that this is the best monthly report in 5 years. So we're certainly happy and hope that trend continues. We also have the summary of the annual privilege tax report that we give you at the end of each year, showing the cumulative amounts that we've collected in all of the various funds for the privilege tax. Just to give you a quick total there, from the beginning of the privilege tax being passed, we're up over $120 million collected during that period of time. Then also at the end of the year, we give you the anticipated penny of tax to be collected. This is based on our assessed value of property. And you can see in the general funds, general fund, general debt service, and general schools, $767,000 for each penny of tax, $472,000 for the highway, solid waste, $161 for highway, and $594 for rural debt. And of course, then you see in the middle of the page there where the schools split their tax revenue with the Franklin Special School District. So it actually makes their net amount per penny of tax $691,000. Then we give you the year-end fund balance report. Again, we have estimated figures on here for the schools, but the fund balances look real good. We've recovered from some of the drawdowns that we anticipated for this year. So we're happy to report that to you, good strong fund balances to start the new year. And then finally, the report that we've been giving you a couple of times during the year, and Commissioner Danner had asked for last month, we have the report on the self-insurance fund. The one sheet that I wanted to call your attention to is each year we have to have an actuarial report of the funds that will carry over to the next year to pay claims. This year, that actuarial report was $4.6 million, almost $4.7 million. That's down from an average of about 5.3 of the last 4 years. Our cash at the end of the year was $6.8 million. It's the first time in 5 years we've had sufficient cash to cover those run-on claims, what we call them. If you notice, last year at the end of the year, we only had $500,000 in cash, and we're short $4.9 million in covering those claims. And we've been written up each year in our audit the last 3 years because we haven't had sufficient cash in that fund. So this should overcome that audit write-up this year. Then we have the kind of the detail report of the claims analysis. And I guess the most important thing to look at on that is we budget $10,000 per employee for the medical insurance. And at this point, we're coming in at about $8,900 roughly for each employee. So again, we're happy to see that figure come in at that level. And then the last item, Mr. Chairman, again, we've had to do some estimates because of the time frame of this meeting, but we were able to get an estimate from the Cool Springs Marriott, and they anticipate writing us a check for the month of June for $24,000. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe that covers all of our reports, and I'd be glad to try to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Any questions for Mr. Coleman? I see none. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. David, Commissioner Williams got a question.
In the effort to try to save a little time. I know there's a resolution in here, and we've had some communication between, from Commissioner Barnwell about that $5 million rural debt. I would just like to know what your position is on that, Mr. Coleman.
Commissioner, I've spoken with Commissioner Barnwell about that and looked at his numbers, and you know, I can't argue with the logic of his numbers, but there's one thing that I had to learn when I first came into government: is logic doesn't always work. But one thing in his calculations, he used a 6-year period, and I went back and looked over that 6-year period. We have funded, I believe, 7 elementary or middle schools and 1 high school. For the money that we borrowed for those schools, 72% was borrowed from the Rural Debt Service Fund. So simply put, we are putting that privilege tax into the Rural Debt Service Fund because in our opinion, that's where we need it. And if you look back over the last 2 or 3 years, through the budget process, through the budget meetings, we've continually brought that forward, that the Rural Debt Service Fund is the one that's really hurting and will be the next 3 or 4 years. We keep talking about that gap and hoping to get over that gap in the next 3 or 4 years. So we do feel like that's where the majority of the money's been borrowed in the last 6 years, and that's where we need the money.
Thank you, David. Mr. Chairman, just a couple of remarks here. Again, I want to emphasize how much I appreciate working with the Budget Committee this year. Tom Bain, who was chairing it, Russell Little, excuse me, Judy Herbert, Mary Brockman, that helped us go through this budget. Oh, excuse me, Tommy Little. I apologize. I'm sorry about that, Tommy. And, of course, to staff, you just don't know how much I appreciate David and Nina and Linda for always being there and having all the paperwork year after year. These people continue to do a wonderful job. I guess you heard David's remarks on one of the things that I would like to call attention to, and that's our self-insurance fund. For the last couple of years, we've been struggling in that area, and last year's Purchase and Insurance Fund Committee, this year's Purchase and Insurance Committee, voted to make some changes, and it took a little faith to do that. A lot of times we just look at numbers. You look at forecast, and you just keep your fingers crossed. It actually worked out. That's a real credit to our insurance department on the 2nd floor and Gina. It's a real credit to all of the employees here that took on some of the extra cost. We did shift some cost to our employees here. When you look at that sheet, you really see you almost made up $5 million over what we were in the red last year. And this is about our 3rd year, if my memory serves me correct. I didn't research it, that we've left the money at the same for this coming year for the amount we're budgeting. So in a time of uncertainty in healthcare, in a time that a lot of changes are going to be made at Washington and at the state level that are going to trickle down to us, we are positioned a very favorable position for the years to come. And I've got to believe that Moody's, when they get this report the next time we have to borrow money, they'll be very pleased with the over $100 million that we've got in fund balances in all of our accounts. Finally, I'd like to say that a little known number that we oftentimes don't look at, I had Wayne Franklin to run me some numbers on just how much insurable value do we have in Williamson County, not counting our rolling stock, just bricks and mortar and equipment. We're at $1.229 billion worth of values now. It's quite a large number for a small county that continues to grow, the fastest growing county in the state. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the mayor? I see none. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Mike Looney, Director of Schools.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you. I'll keep my report brief. We appreciate your consideration this morning of our budget request and the items that we have before you. In the next couple of weeks, the state will be publicly releasing the assessment data for the 2011-12 school year. And while that data is still embargoed, I feel very confident in telling you that I believe that the results will be the best they ever have been in this county, thanks to the leadership of the Board of Education and your support. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Dr. Looney? I see none. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Barnwell?
Wall, who's our chair, or the library director for the Williamson County Library System. We have some Library Foundation members here that she would like to present a little award to. If y'all know, the Library Foundation is very, very kind to the library and provides a lot of funding for things we do. And I think one of the main things they do is the summer reading program, which is, I think, well received by the youngsters in this county. So I'd like to turn that over to Dolores.
Thank you so much. I'm moving over here so I can see everyone's handsome and pretty faces this morning. I know we have a busy agenda today, so I thank you for the opportunity to be able to do this. I have been telling folks this morning that we kind of brought out our A-team, but I would like to recognize the work of the Williamson County Library Foundation. Just a brief little bit of background. It's a 501c3, and it's comprised of community and business leaders who are committed to the library's vision, and their goal is to enrich and not replace traditional tax-based support for libraries through gifts and grants from individuals and organizations. And the foundation's main focus with funding of the library is children's programs. And the facilities is a prime location for easy access for lesser advantaged children who are frequently found reading in the library and participating in our story times and using the computers. Also, the Library Foundation sponsors symphony concerts and are enjoyed throughout the community. And a vintage affair and other investment contributors have been generous donors of the Library Foundation for several years. And I'm proud to announce that our summer reading program this year, Dream Big and Read, had over 2,200 participants. And the foundation generously donated $16,266 to make this happen. And at this time, I would like to recognize the foundation members present and have them come up. Caroline Cross, Randy Houston, Jananne Merrill, and Kay Bjork. And also Commissioner Barnwell. And the plaque we're presenting to them says Certificate of Appreciation presented by the Williamson County Public Library, recognizing the Williamson County Library Foundation for generous contributions to WCPL youth programs. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Any other reports from county offices or committees? I see none. At this time, I'd also like to take the opportunity to recognize Representative Charles Sargent. He's in the back, and we're glad to have him today. He's one of our state representatives, and welcome, Charles. Moving on to elections and appointments. The first one, we have Board of Health, Consumer Representative, term expiring, Cindy Howes. Nomination, Cindy Howes. Entertain a motion. Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Little the second. Any other nominations? I See none. All in favor of Cindy Howe signify by saying aye. Opposed? She is confirmed. Water and Wastewater Authority Industry Representative, 5-year term expiring 7/2017. Term expiring, John Hancock. Nomination, John Hancock. Commissioner Cook, Commissioner Hester the second. Any other nominations? See none. All in favor of John Hancock signify by saying aye. Those opposed? And Commissioner Hancock's confirmed. Congratulations, John. Next election and appointment is medical examiner, which is a 2-year term expiring July of 2014. Term expiring Samuel A. Smith, M.D. Nomination, Samuel A. Smith, M.D. Commissioner Chalifant. Commissioner Little the second. Any other nominations? I see none. All in favor of Dr. Smith signify by saying aye. And opposed? And Dr. Smith been confirmed. What's up on the board? Oh. Commissioner Hayes?
I'm sorry. This is not an appropriate time. I did push it back when you asked for other reports. But I had a question. Commissioner Herbert and I were pretty well bombarded over the weekend with people who had received their voter cards. And I realized that in our loss of some 10,000 plus constituents on the new chart and our different divisions and different districts, that there would be some confusion. But there were a number of people who were having to pass 2 precincts to go vote at a 3rd precinct. And of course, we know that the way it was divided was not particularly good in the Spring Hill area because of how we wanted to put them together into one area, but there was an overlap. My question, I guess, is attorney-wise or legal-wise, are there any state waivers, any state alternatives or anything, adjustments that can be made in unique circumstances, or can we do an additional precinct? What are the rules, regulations concerning the number of people that have to be at the precincts? What, if anything, can we do, if at least making it possible? We try so hard to make it easy for people to vote, and if they have to go 10 miles where they've been going 2 miles, I'm afraid we're going to lose them. I realize we have early voting, but oftentimes it does not go till late, where people who worked in Nashville could not get back by 5 o'clock. So I guess my question, and I did just this morning get to talk a little bit with Ms. Beard, but most of the calls came in over the weekend and I didn't get time to go to the election office. So would you please give us the legal maneuver, and are there any waivers? Are there any grants? Is there anything we can do for our constituents?
Realistically, there's not much you can do in terms of a waiver system. It's numerically based. Obviously, the districts have to be within a variance of a certain number, and I think that was around 15,100 if I remember correctly, but it was somewhere in there. And you have a small variance that you can use between the districts. And then within the districts themselves, the precincts have to be a certain population limit as well. And so those are what the Election Commission has to work with in order to set the locations. I believe that's 5,000 if I remember correctly. So within the district you have to have precincts. Those are limited to a certain amount, and then of course they've got the question of whether they can find a location within that particular precinct within which to hold the election. And sometimes that's a governmental building, sometimes that's not a governmental building, and they have to work within that. So those are kind of the limitations. In terms of a state waiver, I'm not aware of any waiver process that would allow us to vary from the calculus that is set forth by the statute and the rules and regs of the state. Any flexibility we have is really local in terms of what building within the population modules that you build according to that statistical category. I think that's, Ann, is that pretty much, I was going to say, I don't know about any other practical considerations they can give to that, but I'm not aware of any waiver you can give. And of course the problem is you don't want very much of a waiver process, because with the legal precedence of one man, one vote and such, you don't want a lot of variance within the state as to what precincts and districts could look like, or you open yourself to charges of gerrymandering or in some way disproportionately impacting an individual's vote. So unfortunately,
Well, can we at least, or maybe at least request maybe longer hours? What is the process of having longer hours for the early voting?
I think that's an election commission question. They would have to address whether they had the locations and the manpower for that. But I think there is some discretion there on flexibility with early voting. And the number of satellite locations and those kind of things are things the commission could take up.
I don't want to lose any opportunity for people to vote.
At this time, we'll take a brief recess. We need to meet in our paired districts. So it's District 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, so on. And so we can come up with the members of the rotating committees. So at this time, we'll take about a 5 to 10 minute recess. We'll come back into session. Okay. I forgot to tell you guys if you'll come up with a spokesman between the two groups, but I'll just call on you and have at it. The first District 1 and 2 for HR committee.
For HR committee, it's John Hancock.
Okay. 3 and 4. Uh, 5 and 6. 7 and 8. 9 and 10. Mr. Williams. And 11 and 12. Mr. Langston. Very good. So we'll vote on the HR committee for next year. I have on this committee John Hancock, Kathy Danner, Arlene Cook, Tom Bain, Ernie Williams, Doug Langston. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Little, motion. Commissioner Green, a second. All in favor of the HR committee signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? HR committee passed. All right. District 1 and 2 for Parks and Rec.
Betsy Hester.
Mr. Hester. Districts 3 and 4. District 5 and 6. District 7 and 8.
Greg Davis.
District 9 and 10.
Travis Hawkins.
District 11 and 12.
Mr. Steve Smith.
I'll entertain a motion for the Parks and Rec Committee. They are Betsy Hester, Cheryl Wilson, Jeff Ford, Greg Davis, Travis Hawkins, Steve Smith. Entertain a motion. Commissioner Cook, Commissioner Wilson, the second. All in favor of the Parks and Rec Committee signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? They pass. Rules Committee, District 1 and 2.
White Jones.
District 3 and 4.
Judy Hayes.
District 5 and 6. District 7 and 8.
Jack Walton.
District 9, 10.
Bob Barnwell.
District 11, 12.
Brian Bethard.
All right. This will be the Rules Committee for next year. We have Dwight Jones, Judy Hayes, Lewis Green, Jack Walton, Bob Barnwell, Brian Bethard. I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Little, the second. All in favor of the Rules Committee for next year signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They pass. Next, we have the Steering Committee, Districts 1 and 2.
Ricky Jones.
Districts 3 and 4,
Judy Herbert?
Districts 5 and 6, District 6 and 7, I'm sorry, 7 and 8,
Bert Chalfont.
Districts 9 or 10, 9 and 10,
Mary Brockman.
Districts 11 and 12.
Brandon Ryan.
The steering committee for next year will consist of Ricky Jones, Judy Herbert, Tommy Little, Bert Chalfont, Mary Brockman, Brandon Ryan. I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Brockman and Cook. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And we have our committees for next year. Next, I'd like to take a moment, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Arlene Cook and Betsy Hester for the goodies this morning, the food, and we sure appreciate that. And, thank you, and everybody, I'm sure, is eating too much, and there's still more there. Very good, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion. Or anyone want to pull anything off the consent agenda? All in favor, and as I was told, all we have are notaries. All in favor of the notaries signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we have Commissioner Herbert abstains. All right, moving on, there's no unfinished business, no new business, no zoning. So moving on to appropriations. And at this time, in your packet is a conflict of interest disclosure. And so if we'll fill that in and sign it. Oh, okay, well, I'll read it and. Okay. All right. I, insert your name, declare that I have an indirect conflict of interest in the proposed budget about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligations to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. So if everybody's agreeable with that, we can voice vote. Yeah. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? If you'll fill that out, sign it, and also date it. The 9th. Yeah, if you'll date it, today's July the 9th, and we'll return it to the clerk. All right, moving on. Hey, Dave. All right, moving on. Resolution 712-1, a resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2012 and ending June 30th, 2013. Need a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Bain, the motion, Commissioner Brockman the second. Mr. Coleman, if you would come up. Mr. Coleman will read through these and we'll vote on each fund separately, and then at the end, we'll vote on in its entirety.
Mr. Chairman, as we go through in the gray booklets we've prepared for you, I'll read out the color of the tab that you could find that fund under, and on each subtotal I'll read you the page number, and if you don't care to do that now, you can just make those notes on your resolution. And if you want to go back and look at that later, you can do so, but we'll just read those as we go along. The County General Fund, which is found under the green tab in your book, and the grand total is on page 26, $11,414,513.
I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Barnwell, Commissioner Williams, the second. Any discussion? See none. You ready to vote?
Chairman, we have an amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the Budget Committee approved 712-1 as amended.
Oh, okay.
There is an amendment that we probably should look at before
Yes.
we vote on
Okay.
this.
Okay. If you'll make that amendment.
I'll move the amendment here. Proposed major, just this part, okay. The amendment, upon approval of the 2012-13 Election Commission budget, please amend the appropriation resolution number 712-1 to transfer $46,136 from postage in the Election Commission budget to 101.51500.348 to the county mayor's consultant budget, 101.51300.399. What this is, they had to mail out the voter registration cards prior to our meeting, and they didn't have the money, and the mayor's budget loaned the money, and this will just put the money back in the mayor's budget.
Proper motion second, Commissioner Brockman. Any discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Herbert, is it on the amendment?
Not on this amendment, but on the budget item.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll get this one out of the way and get back to you. Linda, you ready to vote? If you're in favor of this amendment, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. And don't forget to confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote? Commissioner Hayes? There we go. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes.
All right, resolution.
0 no.
The amendment passes. Now we're back on the main resolution. And just want to remind everybody to pull your mics closer to you when you speak so everyone can hear you. Commissioner Herbert?
Yeah, I'd like a motion to amend the County Commission 51100, and it's item number 199.001. I think 30,000 was put in there. It's a new expense this year. It's per diem for the commission. I think it's supposed to be for expenses for the county commissioners. I feel like we were elected to be a service to the community and not make money off of it, and I think the other departments could use that 30,000 for the expenses where they have been cut for so many years.
Commissioner Ryan, the second. Any discussion on the amendment? I see none.
I'm having to load it.
Okay.
What was it for?
Commissioner Barnwell?
I'm somewhat familiar with this, and this is the funds, I believe, to provide for the administrative staff to stop sending us all sorts of emails and everything through the postal service. For us to consider, this would provide funds for the purchase of equipment that would allow us to, like Commissioner Smith has an iPad type doc thing, and I think Commissioner Little has, and it just, I think the other departments will probably save that much money just by us having the capability to have tools of the 21st century to actually look at the stuff we get every month, and it would save mailing a lot of the stuff that they actually mail right now. I mean, I'm a big proponent of this. This allows us to, instead of the county buying us equipment, we buy it ourselves, and that way it gets away from what's personal, what's county business type stuff, and we would own the equipment. So I think it's a valid thing for us to have to keep, to allow for a reduction in costs in other departments.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, that kind of answered my question on that one.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
I don't see I haven't made it to where the item is referenced in the budget, but Commissioner Herbert made a reference in her amendment to it being termed a per diem. That sounds like a travel allowance to me for county commissioners, and I don't know that we've ever had a real issue with that. Is anybody doing a lot of traveling they need to expense on the county?
It's not a per diem. It's basically a home office type allowance to cover the cost of us buying our own equipment, computers, whatever.
What page is that line item on, please?
The very first page, third item down. Jack? I was classified out. I didn't. Could Mr. Coleman explain why it's per diem to us? We didn't have an account category for it.
That's precisely it, Mr. Barnwell. The state gives us a chart of account, and the number we put it in, we have to use their title, and that's what the title of that account is.
Okay.
You have it loaded, Linda? Okay. Any other questions on the amendment? I see none. If you're in favor of the amendment, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Don't forget to confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
14 yes, 9 no.
So the resolution passes. Motion passes, I'm sorry. So back on the main resolution as amended. Any discussion? Commissioner Wilson? Oh, okay. Mr. Coleman, do you have a new total for general administration?
Yes, sir, just a moment. The amended total on the general fund will be $11,384,513.
new total on the general fund would be $11,384,513. You ready?
Mr. Chairman, one quick question.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman, I noticed on the tax relief program that we've reduced that amount by $200,000. Can you explain that to us, please?
That's where we amended that
Right.
fund back in the spring.
Right.
And so basically, we just brought it back to what it was. We didn't actually reduce it, but we had an amendment in the spring, I believe, for a total of $200,000.
Okay, the actuals had been running in the 480,000, and so it looks like we've taken it down 100,000 below that.
Yes, sir. It's just been our custom in the spring to look at that and see where it is. This commission's always said that whatever the payouts were, we would cover them. So we've just done that rather than just try to guess at that, get a more accurate figure in the spring.
Okay.
We're ready to vote? All in favor of the general fund as amended, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
The general fund as amended passes. Mr. Coleman?
Mr. Chairman, the subtotal for the finance section is $3,998,656. That's on page 33.
Commissioner Brockman? Mr. Little, the second. Any discussion on the general administration fund? Oh, I'm sorry, we're voting on finance. Can't read my own writing. Ready to vote? All in favor, push your yes button and confirm. If you're opposed, no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Finance portion of the budget passes. Next is administration and justice.
Total for administration of justice, Mr. Chairman, is $3,458,785, and that's on page 44.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Brockman, the second. Any discussion on administration of justice? I see none. If you're in favor, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Mr. Coleman?
Section Public Safety, $16,348,596 on page 64.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Little, the second. Any discussion? I see none. We're ready to vote. All in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Next page of the resolution, Mr. Chairman, is Public Health and Welfare, $4,661,536. That's on page 77.
Entertain a motion. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Little, the second. Any discussion? This next item is the third page over in the resolution, so All in favor of public health and welfare budget, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Next, social,
Cultural.
cultural, and recreational services.
Yes, it's
Coleman.
found on page 90 in your book, and the total is $12,534,928.
Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? All in favor?
Yeah, let's move on.
I thought we did.
Second. Thank you.
Now you're moving too fast. Not been known for that. Thank you for. All right. It's on the floor. You ready to vote? We're on. Right. If you're in favor, push the yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Commissioner Smith? Thank you. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Moving on to agricultural and natural resources. Mr. Coleman?
Found on page 93 in your book, $400,904.
Any, Mr. Wilson, Commissioner Barnwell, any discussion? See none. If you're in favor, push the yes button and confirm. Your no button. If you're opposed, no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Moving on to other government, general government. Mr. Chairman, this is on page 108 in your book, and the total is $18,286,550.
Entertain a motion. Mr. Little, Mr. Hayes, the second. Any discussion? See none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of other general government fund, signify by pushing your yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Mr. Coleman, do you have a new total on the total general fund?
Yes, sir. The amended total for the general fund is $71,074,468.
Mr. Little?
Yes, total general fund. $71,074,468.
I have a motion. Who was my second? Mr. Cook? Everyone in favor of the new total, which is $71,074,468. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
All right. Mr. Coleman, moving on to solid waste.
Yes, sir. Solid Waste Sanitation Fund is under the yellow tab in your book, and just one total is found on page 117. The total for that fund is $4,921,203.
Commissioner Hayes, Commissioner Cook, the second. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of the solid waste budget, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Moving on, Mr. Coleman, Special Drug Fund.
Yes, sir. The Sheriff's Special Drug Fund is found on page 119, is $71,000.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Wilson, the second. Any discussion? See none. If you're in favor of the Special Drug Fund, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. Oh, Brian? Here we go. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
All right. Highway Public Works Fund.
Mr. Chairman, this is found on page 130, and the total for the Highway Fund is $10,996,340.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Brockman, the second. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of the Highway Fund, signify by saying, pushing the yes button and confirming. Opposed, your no button and confirming. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Mr. Chairman, if you wish, we could skip down and I'll do the debt service funds, or if you want to take a break and let the schools get up, that'd be fine. While we're here.
Body, we won't.
Okay.
Go ahead. We'll move on.
All right. The General Debt Service Fund, found on page 141, and the total is $32,056,200.
Commissioner Brockman, Commissioner Little, the second. Any discussion on the General Debt Service Fund? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of the General Debt Service Fund, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Debt fund passes. Rural Debt Fund, Mr. Coleman.
Rural Debt Service Fund, found on page 145. Total is $21,110,000.
Commissioner Brockman, Mr. Chalfant, the second. Any discussion on the Rural Debt Fund? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of the Rural Debt Fund, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Got it. Anyone wish to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Now, do you want, we'll go to the school's budget.
Good morning once again. On page 26 of 26, the last page behind the purple tab, recommend your approval of the proposed budget of $245,978,265.
Commissioner Bain, need a second? Second. Commissioner Little, the second. Any discussion on the general purpose school fund? I see none. If you're in favor of the general purpose school fund, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Dr. Looney?
Thank you. Behind the pink tab, the last page, page 1 of 1, I guess it's the only page, recommend your approval of the central cafeteria proposed budget of $10,096,797.
Commissioner Little, Commissioner Smith, the second. Any discussion on the central cafeteria fund? I see none. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
General debt fund passes. Extended school fund, Dr. Looney.
Thank you. Commissioners, behind the blue tab or the blue piece of paper, I recommend your approval of the Extended School Program Fund, $1,648,474.
I entertain a motion. Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Wilson, the second. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of the Extended School Program Fund, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm.
Commissioner Dan.
Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support.
Thank you. Mr. Coleman, do you have a new amended resolution?
Yes, sir. The revised grand total for the county budget, $397,952,747.
Commissioner Bain. Who was my second? Burke, Commissioner Shelton. David, would you repeat the number one more time?
Yes, sir. $397,952,747.
All right. If you're in favor of the total budget, which is $397,952,747, in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
So we have a budget. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Oh, okay. Okay. All right, now we need to vote on Resolution 712-1 as amended in its entirety. So we have a motion in a second, correct? So, yeah, we already have it on the floor, so we just need to vote on it in its entirety. So if you're in favor of Resolution 712-1, signify by pushing your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Now we have the budget. Moving on, Resolution 712-2, resolution fixing the tax levy in Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2012. Commissioner Bain? Commissioner Chalfant, second. Budget Committee?
3-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain?
Yes, this sets the tax levy at 231, the same as it's been for the last several years.
Any discussion? I see none. If you're ready to vote on Resolution 712-2, if you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. If you're opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wish to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 712-3, resolution making appropriations to nonprofit charitable organizations of Williamson County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2012 and ending June 30th, 2013. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval as amended.
Commissioner Little, second. Budget Committee?
3-4-0 against as amended.
All right. Would you like to make that amendment?
I would. The amendment is reduce amount of funding for Fairview Volunteer Fire Department by $31,921, making the new total $40,000, and add $31,921 to the Williamson County Rescue Squad for a new total of $216,661.
Proper motion. Commissioner Little, the second. Any discussion on the motion? You have it loaded, Linda?
The amendment.
Yeah, we're voting on the amendment. If you're in favor of the amendment, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
All right, back to the main resolution as amended. Any discussion on the resolution as amended? Commissioner Danner?
I know we've talked about this before. I have personally nothing against the charities, the nonprofits that are listed on this resolution, but I kind of stick by the Mitch Daniels litmus test. If you can find it in the yellow pages, government shouldn't be in it. And so that's why I'm going to vote no against this. But I just want to make it clear, I have nothing against the charities that are mentioned in this.
Any other discussion?
Can I ask the new total again? I didn't catch the new total.
The total will be the same.
Same
Remote, just total is the same. Okay,
Just moved it around.
okay.
Any other discussion? I see none. You ready to vote on the amended resolution 712-3? If you're in favor, push the yes button. Opposed, your no button. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
20 yes, 3 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 712-4, resolution appropriating $5 million education privilege tax funds and appropriating the related operating transfers for 2012-13 rural debt service expenditures. Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
3-4-0 against.
Education Committee?
4-4, 1 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is cost of school buildings, and this is to approve the privilege tax coming from the rural debt.
All right. Commissioner Barnwell?
Mr. Chairman, I have a distinct problem with this, as I mentioned at the Education Committee. Privilege taxes and the adequate facilities taxes were established, I thought, to benefit all taxpayers in this county. Yet for the last 6 years, 96% of the allocations have gone to rural debt service, and only 4% is going to general debt. And I believe this is inappropriate considering the fact that not all taxpayers pay rural debt. And just as a side note, between the first 4 years of this allocation going entirely to rural debt, the fund balance from in rural debt went from $3.3 million to $11.7 million, which is about $8.5 million. So in effect, 60% of these allocations went to fund the fund balance versus going actually to pay off rural debt. I don't think that's right. I think there's a group of taxpayers in this county are not being represented in this particular situation. And at the Budget Committee or Education Committee meeting, I've asked for an amendment, which I'm asking for now, in that this $5 million, instead of going to rural debt service this year, go to fund general debt service. And we could actually pay for this without a tax increase by taking 4 cents out of general debt and 5 cents out of general debt service. And this would not totally eradicate the imbalance. 40% of the debt, school debt, is in general debt, and realistically an adequate distribution over the last 6 years should be $9 million, with only $13 million going to rural debt service, whereas $21,250,000 has gone into rural debt, and only $1 million is going to general debt, which I think is very inappropriate, since I believe these taxes were created to benefit the entire county taxpayer base. Thank you. And I'm making that amendment.
Was that an amendment?
Yes, I'm making an amendment to move it to general debt service.
I'll second that.
Okay. Will that, are you just moving the money, or are you going to?
I'm amending the resolution that instead of going to rural debt service, it goes into general debt.
But it doesn't
$5
affect
million.
the tax rate?
No, I can't affect the tax rate with this amendment. I'm just saying how we would pay for it if this is approved.
All right, proper motion. Commissioner Ryan, the second. So we're speaking to the amendment. Commissioner Danner?
Moving this could lower the taxes, though, for one group of people, but it wouldn't raise the taxes for the other group.
It does not raise the taxes for the county general population.
Okay.
Theoretically, if it's approved and we go back to the other resolution, the 231 would still be the same.
Right.
Commissioner Williams?
I would like to have Mr. Coleman address that issue one more time. We want to try to get through the asking to address earlier.
Specific question, or just like me to kind of go through it?
What is your recommendation?
Commissioner, my recommendation is exactly what the amendment, what the resolution calls for, and that's for the $5 million to go into rural debt. I guess if you're going to do a true analysis of this, we should go all the way back to when the privilege tax was established, because there have been several years that we might have put $5 or $6 million in the general and $1 in the rural. So we're looking at a short window of time. This tax went into effect in, I believe, in 1987, I believe. So that's one thing I would recommend. If we're going to do that way, let's go back and look at the whole thing. The second thing I might point out is if you look at your fund balance report that I gave to you earlier in the day on the Rural Debt Service Fund, with the expenditures and revenue we have coming into that fund, we're counting this $5 million as a revenue item, and if projections were right on target, instead of ending the year with $6.6 million fund balance in the Rural Debt Service Fund, we would be down to $1 million. I think that's dangerous. The next thing is just the effect on this whole budget, and Mr. Chairman, if I can address that, and I don't speak for the Budget Committee, but when we go through the process, we're trying to budget for the whole county, what's best for the whole county, and what's best for this entire budget, not one area of it. If you move the pennies, as Mr. Barnwell has suggested, you would take $3 million totally out of the general fund, and that would drop the general fund balance to $3 million. You would move some money over into the debt service funds. But even if you account for that, the net effect on this whole budget would be a reduction in revenue of over $1.5 million. And I just can't support that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Commissioner Jones?
Commissioner Williams asked David to come up, and that's what I wanted to do.
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment of Resolution 712-4?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Bethard?
Yeah, I don't see it on the board, but there was some discussion early on when Commissioner Barnwell proposed this, that doing this transfer would help FSSD. And I wonder if Mr. Coleman might address and explain and verify the truth or validity of that statement.
Commissioner, the effect, and I can't really address the FSD, but this amendment's dealing just with the privilege tax. And if all you did was move this privilege tax, it would have no effect on the FSD. The effect would come if you move those pennies of tax. And that's where the FSD would pay less because they wouldn't pay the rural debt. But we'd also lose money in our budget. I mean, as I said before, we're trying to look at a budget for the whole county. We're not singling out any groups. You know, if you start singling out groups, then you'll have old folks like me coming in and saying, I don't have any children, I don't want to pay the 128.
Follow up, Mr. Bethard?
I wonder if Commissioner Barnwell could maybe address the same question.
Yes, it's basically the revenue goes down because the general debt raised more per penny than a rural debt. The fact that the general fund underspends their budget historically by $6 million shows they have room to give up a few pennies because they underspent it again $6 million this year. I think it's even with the reduction in the debt service for this year with what happened in the final debt service, of the money sent to rural debt service from privilege tax, 40% of this money has gone in to pad the fund balance. It hasn't gone to reduce debt, it's gone to pad the fund balance. So to me, it's an unfair allocation of these taxes because they're not being used for the purposes they were intended to be used for, pay debt.
Commissioner Chalfant?
Chairman, I'd like to call a question.
Proper motion, Commissioner Williams the second. All in favor of calling the question, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, question's been called. So we're going to vote on the amendment for Resolution 712-4. Mr. Barnwell, would you state that amendment again?
The amendment would be to change the designation of the $5 million going to the general debt service and not rural debt service.
If you're in favor of the amendment, is it loaded, Linda?
Uh-huh.
I'll catch up with you here in a minute. If you're in favor of the amendment, push the yes button and confirm. Opposed? How do you change your vote? I screwed up. All right, anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time.
Commissioner.
Yeah, I've reset yours, Jackson.
Okay. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
4 yes, 19 no.
The amendment fails. We're back to the main resolution. Any discussion on the resolution? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 712-4 as presented, push your yes button and confirm. confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-12-5, resolution amending the 5-year capital improvements budget and appropriating up to $346,762 recreation privilege tax funds for the purchase of various parks and recreation equipment. Commissioner Bain?
For approval.
Second.
Commissioner Chalfant's a second. Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
All right. Did this go to Parks? No? Okay. Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
This is privileged tax funds for the purchase of various parks and rec equipment.
All right. Any discussion on Resolution 7-12-5? I see none. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Commissioner Hancock. Three yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-12-6, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Tennessee and the Tennessee Department of Transportation for Phase 2 Timberland Park improvements and amending the 2012-13 Capital Projects Fund budget by $377,174, revenues to come from federal grant. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval.
Mr. Williams, a second. Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
Did this go to Parks? No. Okay. Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, this is the grant with the state of Tennessee for the second phase of the Timberland Park, which is the county park off of the Natchez Straits.
All right. Any questions? I see none. You're ready to vote. Resolution 7-12-6. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm.
Commissioner Barnwell, thank you.
Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-12-7, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 Highway Department budget by $100,000 and related operating transfers for paving expenses, revenues to come from highway privilege tax funds. Mr. Hancock? Move for approval. Highway Commission? 5-4-0 against. 5-4-0 against. Budget Committee?
4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is getting the money out of the privilege tax back into their, getting the money so that the Highway Department can use it in their budget. It's moving it from the, into the paving from the privilege tax fund.
Thank you, Commissioner Hancock.
I have to do this every year this time.
Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? If you're in favor of Resolution 7-12-7, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wish to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-12-8, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 capital projects budget by $2,115,000 and approving the related operating transfers, revenues to come from county general undesignated fund balance. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, these are undesignated funds for various county projects, repairing roofs, HVAC, vehicles, computers.
Any questions? regarding Resolution 712-8? I see none. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time.
Commissioner Hancock.
Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
He's out. He's out. $22 yes and 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 712-9, resolution amending the 2012-13 Highway Department budget and appropriate up to $480,000 for highway equipment purchases. Commissioner Bain?
So move.
Commissioner Green, the second. Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
Highway Commission, 5-4, 0 against. Can you give us explanation, Commissioner?
Yeah, yes, I can. This came before the Budget Committee. Basically heavy equipment for the Highway Department.
Any discussion on Resolution 712-9? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 712-9, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution 712-10, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 capital project budget by $350,000, revenues to come from unappropriated solid waste sanitation fund balance. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Hayes, the second. Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
Municipal solid waste, 3-4, 0 against. Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, this is equipment, again, heavy equipment from the unappropriated solid waste sanitation fund balance.
Any discussion on Resolution 712-10? There's an equipment list on the next page. I see none. If you're ready to vote, Resolution 712-10. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 712-11, resolution requesting an intent to fund in the amount of $5,762,050 for the Williamson County Board of Education 2012-13 capital needs.
Move for approval.
Commissioner Wilson, the second. School Board, 12-4, 0 against. Education Committee.
5-4, 0 against as amended.
Budget Committee.
I don't believe we heard this. We did, okay. Well, yeah, 3-0 then.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
This is for capital needs, and we would like to amend this to strike the last paragraph. And so I'd like to place that amendment in at this time.
Proper motion, Commissioner Barnwell, the second. Any discussion on the amendment? I see none. Are you ready to vote on the amendment? If you're in favor of the amendment, signify by pushing your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
The amendment passes. Back on the main resolution as amended. Any discussion as amended? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 712-11 as amended, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button, and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-1212, resolution appropriating $1 million adequate school facilities tax funds to be used as the county's portion of funding the purchase of land for a Northeast High School and future elementary or middle schools. Mr. Jones?
Move for approval.
Mr. Green, the second. Education Committee,
4-0 against.
Tax Study Committee. Commissioner Ford?
It was 4-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Budget Committee,
3-4-0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Jones.
Yes, this is that extra $1 million that we've been talking about to provide for the Northeast High School and another school, either an elementary or middle school.
All right. Any discussion on Resolution 7-1212? See none. If you're in favor of Resolution 7-1212, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-1213, resolution of the governing body of Williamson County, Tennessee, authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of interest-bearing 2012-13 general purpose school fund tax anticipation notes not to exceed $15 million. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval. Then we have an amendment.
Yeah, okay. Proper motion in the second. Commissioner Wilson, the second. Budget Committee,
3-4-0 against.
Education Committee,
4-0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Can we do the amendment? The amendment, our proposed amendment is to increase the requested tax anticipation note by $2 million and a revised total request of $17 million. And rather than my explanation of this, I'm going to ask Mr. Coleman to explain this.
Proper motion, do we have a second? Second. Commissioner Brockman?
Mr. Chairman, this is really coming from the school system, and we do this every year just as a cash flow measure because the property tax doesn't start coming in until late fall, and they have payroll and all they need to make late summer and spring. And Leslie advised that we're probably going to need a little bit more this year, so $17 million. We're in good shape on that. There's a calculation that we have to do with the state to get approval for this, and we have approval to borrow up to 29 if it were needed, so we're well within that limit.
Good.
Has to be paid back by June the 30th of next year.
Any discussion on the amendment? See none. Or you have it loaded, Linda? If you're in favor of the amendment on Resolution 7-1213, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
All right, the amendment passes. Now we're back to the main resolution, 7-1213, as amended. Any discussion? I see none. Ready to vote? All in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
Just a second. $23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-1214, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a grant agreement with the State of Tennessee, Department of Military and Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, and appropriating and amending the Office of Public Safety 2012-13 budget by $175,976, revenues to come from Homeland Security grant funds. Commissioner Hancock? Motion, Commissioner Jones, a second. Law Enforcement Committee, Budget Committee? Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
The mayor to enter into an agreement to secure some Homeland Security grant funds. It's $175,000. It's just through money.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. You ready to vote? Resolution 7-12-14. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-12-15. Resolution authorizing the county mayor to enter into a contractual agreement between the state of Tennessee and Williamson County for pass-through federal funding to subsidize emergency management. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Cook, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4-4 with 0 against.
Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Federal money coming through the state, and it authorizes the county mayor to execute an agreement to receive the funding. It's all grant money.
Okay. Commissioner Ryan?
Just out of curiosity, what are these funds specifically for?
Mr. Jorgensen, or can you answer that, Bill?
These funds are specifically for personnel costs. They help offset, or in addition to the costs for salaries for emergency management personnel.
Okay, so it's going to salaries?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I see none. If you're ready to vote, Resolution 7-12-15. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time.
Ms. Hester?
Mr. Hester? Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 7-12-16, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 capital projects and county general budgets by an amount not to exceed $950,000 to provide funding for construction, management, and architect fees related to the construction of a new public safety and emergency operations center facility for Williamson County, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Second. Mr. Barnwell, the second. Property Committee,
3-4, 0 against.
Law Enforcement Committee,
4-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee. Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
Commissioners, this allows the preliminary steps in the county building an emergency operations center. It's some of the events of the past 2 years has shown us in spades that we have outgrown our present center downstairs, which has served us well, but we have outgrown it. This money will be used to size and architectural fees to get a size for the center, depending on how many participants we'll have. We already have the site. The mayor has procured the site and the administration in some past purchases. This will just give us a way to march forward. There's no determining how much funding will be needed in the future. It will depend basically on the number of entities that desire to participate in this at this location. And I think this is a good move forward, and it'll keep our citizens safe, and certainly provide a means by which to do this for any events that may occur in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Hancock. Commissioner Danner?
I was a no vote on the property committee, and so I would like to maybe ask Matt Purdy or Mr. Jorgensen, why this is such a departure from the way we fund and the way we go about constructing a school. I know that I may not necessarily be at this point against the. I'm actually leaning for the overall project. I think you started to justify the need for it, but this resolution for this amount of money, I have just missing and conflicting information. For instance, I know when we do the architectural costs for a school, my understanding in speaking with a school board member is that the state guideline is about 5% of the total financial scope of the project is for the architectural costs. We don't even know the financial scope of this, of the total of this project. In the property committee meeting, you know, there was, you all threw out a figure of 20 million, and the mayor threw out a number of 6 million. Of course, I like his figure a lot better. But I don't know how you could get a percentage. I don't know how you put the RFP together for the architectural firm and for the construction management when we don't have any idea what the total financial scope of the project is. Also, real quick, I want to point out, if you can maybe address this too, on construction management, my understanding is that this county doesn't even use that anymore when constructing a school. We built 2 elementary schools, I think simultaneously. I believe it was Perry Creek and maybe Spring Station Elementary, and they conducted an experiment to see whether the construction management piece was a waste of money, and it turns out the school that did not use construction management saved 18% of the total project, and I believe that same scenario was true for Davidson County. And so I can get this documentation if you'd like it, but to me, this is just too huge a departure from how we do a school. So if you could address that, that'd be great.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I think this is a starting point for this facility, and through many conversations with the mayor's office and Al Ritter and Keith Feinstein, property management, we discussed the same thing. Do we need a construction manager for this project or do we not? And I think we determined that a construction manager was needed for this project because Williamson County has never embarked on a project like this before. This is not a school, it's not the courthouse, it's not the jail, it's not a parks and rec facility. The expertise needed for this facility was far beyond what we could handle in-house, and the project scope is way beyond what we can handle in-house. And if we could have done it in-house, we definitely would have. And that's the reason for the construction manager.
Can you speak to the total scope? I'm just too uncomfortable voting for a project that ranges between 6 and 20 million.
I think I'll let Mac talk a little bit about the total scope of the project.
I think in our preliminary studies, we've looked at a range of other emergency operations centers that have been built across the country. And obviously, in talking to some specific emergency operations center consultants, and as we went through the initial RFP process, there is a needs assessment phase both for the community and the entities involved. And there is a wide range of dollar figures that come out when you look across the country at the different EOCs. Some of those are not what we need. We are not on the coast. We do not have the surge walls needed of an EOC in Florida or in the Gulf Coast or on the East Coast. So there's a range. We don't know what that number ends up being until we do that initial pre-construction architectural and construction manager budget. When you look at the numbers that the mayor gave or that I may have thrown out, if you come to the middle at about 10 million, and you look at $1.5 million to $2 million for the relocation of the downtown fire station, that gives you about $12 million. The average construction price architecturally is in that 5% range, like you were talking, because of the technical design features of an emergency operations center or hardened structure. The percentages that we received in the RFP were estimates in the 8 to 10% range. We believe, I think the contract isn't signed, but it's around 7.2% for, which is what is projected for the architectural fees for this facility. So when you do the math on that, at 10 to 12 million, that's between $750,000 and $850,000 for those architectural fees. The pre-construction estimate for a construction manager, not the building of the building, but the pre-construction phase of looking at the whole project is around $100,000, and that's probably on the high side. So that gets you right under or close to that $1 million mark for an estimate if it were a $10 million building. And honestly, we don't know yet what that's going to be.
Commissioner Ryan?
Chairman, Mr. Purdy, if you would, or Bill, if you guys, can you give us the specifics in terms, I know this is not a normal building that we're going to be building over there. What is it designed to withstand? Are we talking floods, tornadoes, chemical attacks, possibly?
Certainly. One of the things that you do in building an EOC process is a risk assessment of what historically your jurisdiction, what hazards you face, and what is the design standard. The design standard is somewhere between, probably the things that we look at primarily are first the wind threat. So between an F3 and an F5 tornado is what you would look at building it to, and there's a little bit of difference there in the design standards for an EOC. You would also look at security, blast walls, kind of the terrorism blast threat, and then also the seismic protection that you would look at. Even though we don't think we're in earthquake country, our single greatest threat for the area or the region is probably an earthquake on the New Madrid fault line. Now, we're not in the primary shake zone for that, but we're in the secondary zone. So we have to bring that into account. So if we were building this same building in Memphis, we would need more seismic protection, but we do need some here. So wind, seismic protection, and then those blast protections go into the consideration. That EOC contractor with the architect helps us figure that out, and they have different design standards and codes that specifically relate to those standards. And so that's part of this initial process to budget that, but those are the primary hazards that we would be looking at.
Are floods, fires included?
Floods and fires are included, but obviously there's a fire system, you know, in the building because of the sensitivity of the equipment, but really for our threat level or area, when you secure the facility, flooding would be there, but that's really a site-specific design, and you know, picking the right site versus something that we'd look at in terms of like being on the coast or a surge wall or a flood wall.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, one last question. Is the primary objective with this building, is it to protect, you know, the emergency services from a tornado and whatnot, or is it more trying to bring everybody back to, you know, together and have room to grow?
I think it does both. In the Public Safety Task Force that started meeting in the spring of 2009 and spent a little over a year, kind of looking at emergency services and public safety, there were a number of facilities needs that were identified. Space for the 911 center to grow and potentially to consolidate or co-locate in the future. There are 4 dispatch centers in the county at this time. The need for training space, the need for administrative space, and then the need for an emergency operations center that was hardened with enough space to actually operate. The vision would be that all of those spaces, we don't need a separate training facility or separate administrative space, that all of those things would be able to be housed in one facility. And so it would do all of those things. You know, so I think it allows for the event to be coordinated as well as day-to-day operations. But I think there's another piece that probably wasn't in the Public Safety Task Force report, but continuity of operations and continuity of government, from an ability to continue to manage government after a significant disaster event. If we were to lose one of our government facilities, that facility would also have space and be hardened to not just withstand and keep the people safe, but really continued operations, which makes it a technically more difficult building to build and design, because you're really not asking to survive, you're asking to survive and keep working. And so that changes those parameters. So I would add that in as well.
Commissioner Langston?
Yes, I want to correct the numbers I gave on the committee vote. It was 3-1. I'm sorry I made that error, and I do want the minutes to reflect that. But I'd also like to say that I support this, and I would like to reference the task force committee. That was one of the top recommendations, after the flooding that we had in 2009, a lot of those individuals were able to see the conditions that our emergency management was working under, and that was one of the top recommendations that they made. We've taken certain steps in following the task force, and I think this is certainly unnecessary. I don't like the $950,000 figure, but I'm not smart enough to know if that's a good figure, and I'm going to take that it is.
Commissioner Brockman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you really answered my question. One of my ideas was that did your group consider the possibility of renovating that very large warehouse building that I know some of it is being used, but we spent $5 million on it about 3 years ago, not really actually knowing how it would be used. But given your definition and detail standards that go with this type of project, I guess that sort of acts that concept.
Yes, ma'am. And we also looked at renovating or remodeling downstairs as well, and trying to do that to give ourselves more time. And as we looked at the numbers and talked to the mayor about that, it really didn't make sense to proceed with spending money on a facility that wasn't secure or hardened and that had as many threats as this one does. So.
And my second question, will both these, both the construction management and the architectural fees be sent out to, and will it be out to bid?
Absolutely.
As separate entities?
Yes, and those processes are not complete, but the initial stages have been put in motion to put those as separate RFPs, requests for proposal.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes, the only thing I wanted to comment on, anyone that were living here in 2010 would understand what we went through and how we needed that emergency communication. And for that reason, if anyone, any county commissioner has never made an appointment to go down and actually see how this runs, then you are missing out. They are in desperate need of help. And we don't need another flood situation or any other emergency type situation where we can't communicate with the outlying areas. And I do support this. I know it's going to cost some money, but we really haven't given enough access, I think, to our emergency management areas. So I do support it. I know it's money that we weren't expecting, but I've been there, I've watched it, and I think it's very, very in need.
Commissioner Bain?
Yes, I was the commission's representative to the task force that Mr. Purdy referred to. I was the only county commissioner on that task force, and it lasted over a year, and we got into emergency management in depth, much more depth than I knew existed. And the federal facility that's here in Nashville, the state facility which Mr. Purdy came from, they do an incredible job, and there's so many things that we don't think about on a daily basis that emergency management does. We were at the state facility Tuesday maybe, and they were calling Thursday for an ice storm in Nashville, and all the things that went into the preparation, and we got an ice storm. And the coordination that these folks do is just incredible. And it's going to cost us some money, but it is money well spent, and I certainly support it.
Commissioner Williams?
Chairman, I respectfully call for the question.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith, the second. All in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right. Are you ready to vote? Resolution 71216. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
22 yes and 1 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71217, resolution authorizing the transfer of $143,100 between major categories within the 2012-13 capital projects budget to provide funding for the construction of a volunteer fire department building in the Pinewood community. Commissioner Hancock? Approval. Second. Commissioner Cook, the second. Property Committee?
4 and 0 against.
Law Enforcement Committee?
4 and 0 against.
Budget Committee?
3 for, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
To the general area, Fairview, Pinewood area. In that area, there's a need for another fire station in that area. This money will help to build that facility and get it up and operational to serve a pretty large area there. And it's part of the, I think, future plan for the general fire protection of the county.
Very good. Any discussion? See none, you ready to vote? Resolution 71217. If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71219, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal lease agreement with the City of Fairview and amending the 2012-13 public safety budget by $14,400, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds.
Move approval.
Second.
Mr. Williams, second. Property Committee,
4 for, 0 against.
Law Enforcement Committee,
4 for, 0 against.
Budget Committee,
3 for, 0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Langston.
This allows us to enter into an agreement with the City of Fairview to rent part of the space for the rescue squad to be housed. And I'd ask for approval, please.
All right, any discussion? I see none. In favor of Resolution 71219, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Commissioner Kathy. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71220, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 Register of Deeds budget by $87,500, revenues to come from document recording fees. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval.
Mr. Wilson, the second. Budget Committee,
3 for, 0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, this is money for part-time pay, lease agreements, and so forth, the money to come from recording document fees.
All right. Any discussion? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 71220, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71221, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 Sheriff's Department budget by $426,316 to provide funding for courtroom security operations, revenues to come from reserve account. Commissioner Hancock?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Little, the second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4 for, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
3 for, 0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
This is to move the privileged litigation tax collection money into an expenditure line to pay for what it was originally intended to, which was amend the Sheriff Department budget for the salaries at the courtroom security officers. It's $426,316.
Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 71221, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71222, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 animal control budget by $24,600, revenues to come from county general undesignated fund balance. Commissioner Bain? Commissioner Danner? No, was it Hayes? I'm sorry. Public Health Committee? Okay, they didn't meet. Budget Committee? Explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, the animal control facility had designated this money to buy a trailer to transport animals, and there was a large seizure of animals, and this is replacing that money.
Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 71222, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into a grant agreement with the State of Tennessee Department of Health and appropriating and amending the 2012-13 animal control budget by $2,775. Commissioner Wilson?
Move for approval.
Proper motion, Commissioner Little, the second. Did it go to the Public Health? Okay. Budget Committee,
3-4, 0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Wilson.
This is just basically the Tennessee Department of Health has an animal-friendly grant, and these are the monies provided in that fund given to us.
Okay. Any questions? I see none. If you're ready to vote, if you're in favor of Resolution 71223, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71224, resolution appropriating and amending the 2012-13 information technology budget by $48,500, revenues to come from county general fund balance. Commissioner Bain?
Move for approval.
Commissioner Little, the second. Budget Committee,
3-4, 0 against.
explanation, Commissioner Bain.
Yes, this is a tie-in with the city of Franklin to increase the band width and over an annual cost savings to the county of approximately $20,000 over a 2 to 3 year time span.
Any questions? I see none. If you're in favor of Resolution 71224, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Commissioner Langston? Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71218, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Fairview for the provision of fire and emergency services. Commissioner Hancock? Commissioner Dwight Jones, second. Law Enforcement Committee?
4-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
0 against.
Explanation, Commissioner Hancock.
The county and the Fairview Fire Department have entered into an agreement whereby we're going to pay $75,000, the annual rate of $75,000 for the services, fire protection services in that area of the county. This is the first installment of that agreement, which is $40,000. This will allow for no interruption in service. Everything will be just like it was.
Any questions? See none. If you're in favor of Resolution 71218, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes and 0 no.
Resolution passes. Resolution 71225, resolution to authorize the Williamson County Mayor to exchange a portion of the Springs property with the neighboring property owners to provide a means of access to the Springs property off of Bending Chestnut Road. Commissioner Langston?
Move approval, and we have an amendment.
Commissioner Little? Property Committee?
4-4, 0 against.
Budget Committee?
3-4, 0 against.
Explanation and amendment, Mr. Langston?
The amendment, I think you have at your desk, amending the resolution by replacing all references to Mr. Roy Fox and/or Linda Fox with the heirs of the late T.C. Fox. And that's for the amendment.
Proper motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Barnwell. Any questions on the amendment?
They're both DCs.
All right. Are you ready, Linda? All right.
Yes.
Do we have any discussion on the amendment? I see none. You ready to vote on the amendment? In favor, push your yes button. Opposed, your no button. And confirm. Anyone wishing to change their vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson.
23 yes, 0 no.
Resolution, the amendment passes. Now back to the main resolution as amended. Any discussion on that, Commissioner Brockman?
Yes, I had a question. The property exchange is clear. I just had a question on that, that parcel that abuts what we're getting from the Fox family that belongs to the state. Will the state continue to own that, or will it be given to us?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, we are in the process, we have written a letter to the state asking for that property to be in our possession likewise.
Okay, and they had it because, I know because of 840, but specifically.
If you will think
They
back about
shifted.
10 years ago when the road shifted from where it is to where it is now, it allowed, the state had to purchase a lot of property, and that property will go back to the state. The state keeps it, and we have written letters to them asking for permission to have that property as a use in our facility of our park.
Okay, and the zoning for the Fox property that's being switched with the county, it's one dwelling per 5 acres. If it's to be built on, it's appropriate to be adjacent to this passive park.
That is
whatever they
correct.
could build.
That is correct. He'll actually have over 10 point some odd acres that he might get 2 5-acre tracts out of.
Any further discussion? See none. You ready to vote on Resolution 71225 as amended? If you're in favor, push your yes button and confirm. Opposed, your no button and confirm. Anyone wishing to change your vote, do so at this time. Record the vote, Ms. Anderson. This concludes all agenda items. I want to remind everybody that we're to meet at the Ag Center, and if we'll meet out front for Commissioner Jones.
With the drought and everything, could the county mayor come forward and discuss the burn notices, or what we do with the state? I know we got a lot of rain, but I'm in the unincorporated area, and I've got a lot of calls about what we do with anything to deal with burns, fireworks. Can you do that at this public forum?
Sure. Well, first of all, a week ago Thursday, we asked for a banned burn to be put on that does not allow open burning. Open burning can if you'll make your way up here in case I get totally offline here, outdoor grills, outdoor fire pits, agricultural burning, those things are in effect and as of today, and still are today. We request that. I don't have the authority. There's some folks that think I might have that authority to put that on, but you literally have to request that from only two people, the Commissioner of Agriculture or the Department of Safety, which is your Commerce and Insurance Division. We sent a letter up to them on Thursday, and within a couple of hours, I actually was buying some steaks at the grocery store to go out and cook, and I was told by Diane that came in, you can't cook your steaks tonight. So that ended that discussion. So the next thing that we received numerous phone calls about were in regard to fireworks in our community. As you know, Brentwood and Franklin do have a ordinance that does not allow them to sell nor to shoot fireworks unless it's in a public display such as Franklin did. I don't have the authority, once again, to ban the fireworks sale. That is a state law, and I don't have the authority to ask to ban fireworks shooting in our county because the law allows that. Again, we can request that through the state. There are some mechanisms that you take that into agreement. But today, you do have a burn in the county, an open burn. Did I get that right, Mac? And we had communications with the safety folks out of Nashville in regards to a lot of this. Now, that's not to say that next year, because we've had so many phone calls, that I'll give you all something else to think about and ponder. You do have the authority. You can make those decisions and whereby you might want to restrict the fireworks sale, the fireworks operations, shooting them off. The selling the fireworks, that's state law. So there's pros and cons. You've got the economic side, you've got the safety factor side, but as the state fire marshal said, there's more fires that are started by open burning than fireworks. That's not to say that we don't have as many days of the year that we're shooting fireworks off. And we had several events during the July 4th event with all of our volunteers. But today, open burning is banned. Fireworks could still be used in our unincorporated area.
Commissioner Little? Yeah, okay.
Thank
you. Thank you, Mayor.
Do we have the authority to give you
We several years ago, Commissioner, we passed a resolution here that allows us the County Powers Act, and under the County Powers Act, there are some stipulations that you could enforce that by voting to take the operation of shooting firecrackers out during a certain period of time. I suspect, I'll let the lawyers tell me, can you give me that authority? I'm not sure I want that authority. I don't have any problems by telling people not to shoot fireworks, but I'd rather have that backbone of the 24. With my backbone, that makes 25, and we can enforce it. The problem is, and let's get down to it, the real issue here is not whether you have the authority, but it's the enforcement action and the fine penalty. When the state comes out with that, you have some real teeth. Our law enforcement agency can go out there and there's a fine to it. We don't have that authority. And so asking people to not shoot is probably a very effective way to get that done too.
Go ahead. You got a question for the mayor?
It's the same subject before you get to Tommy. So really it's an enforcement issue in your mind, and then, but.
Well, it's a safety issue, but
Of course it is.
if people are shooting them, it's very unfair to the sheriff and all of his men and women that go out there. There's no...
But given the extreme drought conditions we had this year. I had lots of emails and phone calls as well. But what you're saying is that we really have to have an ordinance that bans the use of fireworks in the county, sort of on record. We can't sort of go in and do a temporary, all right, this year, because of the conditions, we're not allowing people to
That's
shoot
correct.
off fireworks. Okay.
That's correct. We can work with the legislators, but you do have some county power authority that you can do. But again, you're back into that enforcement piece.
Commissioner Little?
This is off the fireworks and fire sale, but the county fair is coming up. I think my son delivered them to me, the sign-up sheets for driving the courtesy carts. We'll have, I assume, 12 carts again this year is what we've been having. But I have sign-up sheets. We'll need drivers each night and day. And the commission has always been a big supporter in helping drive the carts. And so I have the sign-up sheets. You can see me at the luncheon. We can get you signed up to drive.
And the fair's a great time, and working with Tommy's a lot of fun too, so we hope to see everybody out there.
Okay, the dates are,
The 3rd through the 11th of August.
So, just want to add a whole lot of fun, and if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. See you at the Ag Park. Thank you.